Roger, go for deploy.
How good was that? Speaking of John Lee Dumas, getting schooled by the podcast master. Hey guys, welcome back to AdventureFit Radio for another episode. This week, my friend Bill Kerr and myself sat down with, like I said before, the podcast king, the podcast master, John Lee Dumas. We learnt some. He's been in the game since, he said 2012, didn't he? He said 2012.
He's been in the game since 2012.
I'm pretty sure he has. That's when he started the podcast. 2012, EOF.
The CrossFit Games of podcasting.
No, yeah, the CrossFit Games.
What are you talking about?
He started his podcast show in 2012.
Yes, he did.
And he runs a show called Entrepreneurs on Fire, which is a 25-minute show, extremely structured show for, he mentioned his avatar, so the one person that he wants to market towards, which is Jimmy, who drives a car towards work, and he wanted to hit that on point. And I keep harping on about it, as you'll see in the show, guys, but I reckon it was just so on point. The fact that Bill and myself didn't even have an avatar yet that we could market the show towards was really interesting. We got schooled by this dude, guys, but fantastic guy, and we hope that you guys can take as much of it away as we did in terms of podcasting and just some general stuff as well about some entrepreneurial skills that we can all sort of develop. What do you reckon, Bill?
I reckon you're rambling on, mate.
Yeah. I was born in 1993.
Just joking. It was good. It was good. I really enjoyed the show. John runs a podcast, like Tommy said, for the last 4 years.
Yep.
And he has a guest on every single day for those 4 years. So he's 1,300 shows in. So he's about 1,270 shows further than we are.
Hey, does that include weekends? Saturday, Sundays?
Yeah. Saturday, Sunday, he releases them as well.
Public holidays?
I would imagine so.
Really?
Yeah.
God, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, leap years.
Leap years.
He's got the leap year
Anzac
covered.
Day? Surely not Anzac Day. Kick on.
So it was a good show. So I hope you guys like it. It's a little bit about how we've felt about the whole podcasting experience, the what we've been through so far,
Yep.
what we've got coming up in the future, and then we've got a little 20-minute interview with John in the middle. So, it was good. But before we go any further, the show today is sponsored by Audible. So if you want to check out audible.com/ADVF Radio, you can go and get your free 30-day Audible trial and your free audiobook. Audible is an audiobook warehouse, guys. So basically, you can find any book nearly under the sun that you want to read, chuck it in your ears, chuck it in your car while you're driving, and you can get that information in without having to actually physically sit down, pick up a book, and start reading. It's really good for people that are poor with time.
Yep. What have you been listening to?
What have I been listening to? I listened to Animal Farm last week. I'm about to listen to the Richest Man in Babylon.
Yes.
Which is from my... I might read that and listen to it. I'm not sure. I might try and take some notes.
Wait, as in you're going to follow along with the book as you're being read to?
Well, Audible, this isn't like a plug or a salesy thing, but Audible actually have a thing called Whisper Sync,
yep,
where you can read the book, and then once you turn your app on and you can speak, and it'll pick up where you're if so you read the last couple of lines, and then it'll pick up where that is in the book.
Yes.
And then it'll put your bookmark for your Audible app, so you can pick that up in your ears when you get in your car. Do you know what I mean? So you can read the book.
Yeah, I saw that as a little option, but I didn't.
I've never actually used it, but I just want to purchase a book because I think it'll be good, and I want to take some notes on it.
Yep.
So forth, but knocked off Animal Farm, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Bulletproof Diet, and the E-Myth Revisited in the last couple of weeks. And if I was trying to read those books in old school form, I would be...
You'd be 10 pages into Animal Farm.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And also, guys, this show
great.
is brought to you by AdventureFit Travel. So check out everything we've got coming up, guys. We've got an Everest trip coming up to Everest Base Camp. That is going to be mind-blowingly awesome. We want to get behind the Nepali people again. They're still rebuilding after the earthquake, but we went there last November and things were much better, and it's really good to get the boost into their economy again and make sure we're helping those guys out. Last year, actually, before the November trip, after the earthquake, I spoke to our team in Nepal, and I wasn't sure whether we should run it, whether we should run the November trip, because I wasn't sure about many things. I wasn't sure whether Nepal would be ready for us. I wasn't sure our team over there, they were all healthy and safe, but I wasn't sure whether they wanted us to run the trip. And then the guys over there assured me, they said the best thing that you can do, the only thing that you can do is please run the trip. Please
get back on the horse.
Trip. Yeah, because their economy is run off tourism.
Yeah.
So we got behind them last year. We donated some money. We tried to do some volunteering, but there was a fuel crisis, and we couldn't get anywhere. But
so that's okay.
Yeah,
moving on.
They've had a rough time, but So check out www.adventurefittravel.com. Check out our Everest Base Camp trip, guys. A couple of months left of bookings. Do yourself a favour, get on it, and it'll help the Nepali people as well.
Talk to me about the Philippines.
The Philippines is also coming up. Dimitri Klokov is guest coach. Ziplining, free diving, cliff jumping, tons of cool stuff. It's going to be sick. 7 days in a tropical paradise.
Yoga?
Get on it. There might be a yoga or two.
How's that?
Don't
want to miss out on yoga, guys.
Not excited about yoga at all. All right, guys. Enjoy the show. Alrighty. So, 3 months in, mate.
I know. It's fucked.
It's fucked, is it?
Good way to start.
Yeah. So,
it's gone quick, isn't it?
It's gone super quick.
Yeah.
So, to the listeners, to you guys out there, we're about to sit down with John Lee Dumas, who's a podcast coach, basically. So he's going to take us to podcast school, but we just want to have a bit of a chat before we start. So how's it all been for you, mate, the first 3 months of this gig?
Yeah, it's been hectic, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy time.
Yeah, it's been busy, but it's been really good. Like, everything that I wanted out of the show I've had so far. Like, meeting some amazing people already, and got some cool people coming up. So, despite all the back end work and all the other shit, all the other stuff, it's been good. It's been good. Yeah. You found it that way as well?
Yeah, it's been good. I think it was pretty hard at the start. Just kind of getting everything together, not knowing what you're doing. I think you're starting anything and you're not really, you are prepared, but you don't really know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I felt like we didn't even know what we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of feel like that all the time in my whole life.
Yeah, it's probably how we all should really feel.
Yeah.
But no, it's been good for me. I reckon it's been sick fun. I've had some real interesting times with the guests we've had. I've had I think the stranger, more left of centre guests have been the ones that I've been most excited about.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. The ones that have really surprised us as well. We think this would be a relatively good show, and then it's gone boom.
Yeah, like the Jared Fleming one.
Oh,
Jared Fleming. It was tough because it was Skype, but that one for me, that was super. I knew Jared pretty well, or not well, but I knew how smart he was with weightlifting, and I knew he was quite well spoken. And I think for you guys, you and Mac, I know I remember you saying that you were surprised how good it was, because I love that show. But
that's got to be top 5.
Yeah, I think it was great. But what are your favourite shows anyway?
Okay, I was having we were talking about this just before.
Lay them down on me.
Yeah, and lay down on you.
No, lay them down on me.
Okay.
Get off me.
Yes.
Get away.
Sorry. later.
Pull me off.
Yeah.
Pull you off. Yeah. No, lay down on me. I'll lay it down on me.
Have sex with me. What? It's just not beating around the bush at all. I reckon my favourite, so it's got to be Tommy Sierra.
Oh, you stole mine. You had your own, you dog.
I know, I did. I know, but we were talking about it before and it made so much sense.
True.
That was a sick show.
Why
it was
did
just,
you like it so much?
it went from 0 to 100 in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was energy
fucked.
central.
So much to the point that we had to take it down.
Yeah,
it was so controversial. How's that?
For you guys out there that you probably don't know, some of you guys would have listened to our show number 6, Sex, Drugs, and Skydiving with Tommy Sierra. Sierra's a mate of mine for maybe 17 years. I'm 30. I've probably been mates with him since I was 13. He's just a wild dude. Not wild, but just parties and lives his life pretty
the way
hard.
You want to live.
Yeah. And he's a skydiver. So we're trying to repurpose the show so we can get it back out there. But we talked about all kinds of controversial shit. I can't really say too much of it online because the Australian parachute. What happened was Tommy Sierra. So we had the show up and it was going really good and everyone was really excited about it. We were getting some great reviews. And then Tommy wrote to me one day and said, "Mate, you've got to take that show down ASAP. The APF are chasing me. They want it down. They're going to ban me forever." And I read it wrong. And I thought he said the AFP, the Australian Federal Police. I was like, what the fuck have you done?
What have we done? I started panicking.
Yeah. So we had to take the show down because Cyril was ranting on about just some wild stuff that's kind of was pretty much defaming the whole Australian Parachute Federation.
It was awesome.
It was hilarious. But there was heaps of good stuff about Tommy's kind of background, what he likes about skydiving. There was a really interesting section about dimethyltryptamine and taking hallucinogenic drugs, which Sarah's a big.
I wouldn't say advocator, but he's tipped the pot.
Yeah, I would say advocator in the right way, maybe.
Yeah, and or an educated man in that realm.
Yeah, it's just a different perspective on hallucinogenic drugs that people wouldn't get.
Yeah,
most days of the week. So I actually had some people Facebooking me and telling me how excited they were, and there was such a great show, and they were going out to buy DMT. I was like, fuck, I don't know if we're making a positive impact on the world or not here.
Yeah, no. It's like, guys, you just buy tons of drugs. This is what we want on the show.
So we're trying to get that show back out for you guys. Got to talk to Tommy about it. We just got to snip a few little bits that he went a little bit crazy with the parachuting side of it, the skydiving side of it, sorry. But we want to get all the good stuff back out there. So in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll be able to shoot that back out there for you.
Yeah. But the James Newbury one was good as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was sick. You want to tell what happened with that one?
Episode 0.
Yeah.
So
episode never happened.
Yeah, that's right. I think I just said episode. Shit.
You did for sure.
Everyone, it's about 4 a.m. in the morning right now, so we are, quite tight. So we spoke to James Newbury, obviously, who is now going to the games. So we spoke to him before he was going to the games. It's really cool. But we actually, a lot of the show we missed, didn't we? The recording material didn't work.
No, we went down to old fucking knucklehead down the road. And because we got
what a man.
What a man. What a man. Cost us $500.
Yeah.
Lost us our first show.
And
So we're not obviously audio specialists, so we went and got this guy down the road at the place where we bought our all of our gear from. We got really good gear, really, really well set up now. But we went and got our gear, and the guy that set us up just totally fucked it from the start.
Oh, it's fucked. Again, we're not a drug show. We have really good recording gear.
Yeah.
But we're still on.
But yeah, he set up the system wrong. We had to have all these extra plugins and stuff that went into our head unit. And basically what happened was 2 of our microphones recorded and 2 of them didn't. And we had our first show with James Newbury, which was...
It's really good.
We've never recorded a show that we haven't released.
Yeah, that's right.
And that would have been great to be able to say, this is the first time we ever turned the mics on, because it was a fucking ripper show.
Yeah, it was good as. We spoke about, what did we speak, like Mars?
No,
his thoughts on Mars?
Newbury said, James Newbury said that he knows that there are humans already living on Mars, and it's big cover-up that we're going to go there now because we've been living there for 50 years.
Yeah.
We tried to prod him into why that was, and he wouldn't go any further.
No, that's right.
We're too busy taking the piss out of him.
It's just like, man, that's a massive call to say that. What do you... I mean, obviously, you know how to lift a barbell. Where's your education on that?
Yeah, it was so good. And he told us about how we'd... chased a UFO for 2 hours the other day and then ended up being the moon.
Yeah, that's right. Just completely lost all credibility.
He's a space cadet, guys. He's a total space cadet.
That's right. But congratulations for going to the games, by the way. And we want you back on the show.
But we had heaps of good stuff in there too. He's a 2-time gym owner. And obviously he's a games level CrossFit athlete, really strong dude.
Yep.
Just successful guy really in life. He's got a good girlfriend. He's got a couple of little dogs. He just seems to have it all going on. So
and his attention to detail, specifically in recovery, is what I noticed the most. Like he had his whole day sorted out perfectly. Knew exactly what he was doing. Like he just knows what he wants.
Yeah,
it's good.
So we're definitely gonna get him back on the show, guys, because maybe after he's done at the games, we'll try and catch up with Newbury and we'll try and get all that information to you guys again because, like I said, he was a really, really good guest. So we'll try and get him back up and running. But we're about to, we're literally this moment about to Skype with a guy called John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurial. So John had the best rated iTunes podcast in the past. He's also runs a program called Podcasters Paradise. I got interviewed on his show about a month ago, so had a bit of a relationship with John, and we've got him coming on AdventureFit Radio just for half an hour, and he's going to run us through podcast school.
Excited.
So, he's ready. So, should I hook into him?
I reckon you certainly should.
Alrighty.
Meanwhile, I might give the listeners just a quick riddle.
Okay, go on.
All right. What was that one that I said to you the other day? Here we go.
Not the one about the stamp, mate.
Yeah, the stamp. No, okay, so... Oh, that's right, yes. All right, so in a 2-story house, I've already fucked it. Jesus.
Is it a 2-story house?
Yes.
Fucking hell, you are terrible.
I'm shocking. 4 a.m. in the morning. Give us some slack. All right. What goes all around the world but stays in one corner?
You're an idiot.
Oh, God. That's the worst riddle ever, isn't it? All right. Well, how about this one? As a fact, do you know that only 10% of people in the world are left-handed, except over 60% of schizophrenics are left-handed?
Really?
And I'm left-handed.
Well, that explains a fucking whole heap.
You fucking retard. Do you know over 50% of US Americans are left-handed?
Oh, look, I'm a little busy here, mate.
Setting up Skype. Yeah.
Fuck, what am I doing here? I forgot I should hardwire this for Skype. This is what we should have been doing every show.
What is that boy called?
It'll hardwire the computer through to the internet rather than Wi-Fiing it.
Ethernet cord.
Yeah, Ethernet cord.
Bang.
Okay, JLD, thanks for taking the time to come on the show. Welcome to AdventureFit Radio.
Bill, I am fired up. Thanks for having me here today.
It's great. It's good to catch up again, mate. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your history, how you got into podcasting and your EOFire podcast and your Podcaster's Paradise?
Wow. Well, I would love to. Thank you for that. I started back in the day going to college on an Army ROTC scholarship. So that's kind of where my adventure started. And I spent 8 years in the Army as an officer with a little 13-month tour of duty in Iraq. Post-military, I said, hey, why not try law school, which I hated and quit after one semester. And then I tried corporate finance, residential and commercial real estate over the next 6 years. And I just wasn't happy. I wasn't finding success. I wasn't finding happiness. So I started reading all the books and listening to all the audiobooks. And that led me to listening to podcasts. And I fell in love with the medium. I was like, this is a great medium. And I also immediately saw that there was a void in podcasting because I was driving to work every single day and wanting to listen to a great podcast with a great entrepreneur. And the sad thing was there wasn't a podcast that was doing it more than once a week, twice a month. So I said, I am going to be the change that I wish to see in the world. There must be other people out there like me. So I launched EOFire back in September of 2012, almost 4 years ago. Have now done over 1,300 episodes to date, with Bill being one of those great episodes. I haven't missed a day since that day I launched in September of 2012. Wow. We're currently generating over 1 million listens per month, and we have a 7-figure business rocking and rolling.
Well, that is fantastic. So
I'm excited.
Yeah. So you also, outside of EOFire, which we'll probably touch into a little bit more, you've got Podcaster's Paradise, which is, why don't you tell us a little bit about Podcaster's Paradise, basically?
So Podcaster's Paradise came about because I was having a lot of success with my podcast. I was making tens of thousands of dollars a month with sponsorships and with other products and coaching, etc. So a lot of people were saying, John, how can I do this in my niche? How can I start a podcast around my passion? How can I grow it into something meaningful? How can I monetize it like you are? And that just gave me the idea to launch a community that would teach people how to do just that. So back in October of 2013, I launched Podcaster's Paradise, how to create, grow, and monetize your podcast. And we've been going strong now for 2.5 years. We have over 2,800 members within Podcaster's Paradise. Wow. And the community in general has generated over $3.5 million in revenue since we launched. So it's been a wildly successful program, both financially and for those that are a part of it. And again, we have taught and been responsible for launching thousands of podcasts through Podcaster's Paradise.
Beautiful. So you've got, I heard you say just then that you've got the create, grow, and monetize are kind of the three points for your podcasting timeline. So we've created our podcast. We're 30 shows in nearly now. This will be show number 28 coming out next week. So we're going okay with the creation of the podcast. We're still a little bit clunky with our interview techniques. We butt into our guests a bit. Tommy's a goose.
All the time. All the time.
We call him the interrupting elephant.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but we're at the point where we want to grow our podcast. So let's say, for example, so we're getting about, this month we'll probably take in about 8,000, hopefully, 8,000 listeners for the month. And we're probably running at about 1 to 1.5 shows per week. So what do we do, John? What do we do to get more listeners? What do we do to grow our show once we're in this kind of startup stage for our podcast?
Teach us your ways.
Well, one, just the reality is to congratulate yourselves. Those are phenomenal numbers. Those are a lot of people listening to your voices for some reason. So congratulate yourselves for that.
Bill's just currently taking my pants off, by the way.
Number two, you've kind of led me to believe a little bit that you might not be that consistent with your podcast by saying 1.5 episodes a week. That's kryptonite, my friends. You need to sit down and come up with a dedicated release schedule. I don't care if it's once a week, twice a month, or 2 times a week, whatever it is that you guys choose, but your listeners have to know when your show's coming out. They need to know that it's going to be Tuesdays and Friday mornings, or it's going to be every single Thursday morning. And that's it. They know that that is when your episode is going live, so they can trust and count and wait and get excited about your upcoming podcast. So critical in so many different ways. And what people don't realize is that then you can actually start marketing. You can say, hey, catch us every single Thursday, or every single Tuesday and Wednesday, like whatever it is. You need to have that dedicated publishing schedule that your listeners can know, like, and trust. And hey, every now and then you can come out with a bonus episode and throw it out there. And it doesn't have to stick on the schedule because it's a bonus episode.
Yeah.
But your core podcasts have to be right there on that dedicated schedule of whatever you guys have created. And guess what? That can evolve over time. Maybe for the first 6 months, you're doing one a week. And then you figured out a better system. You guys are just automating a little bit better. So then you do bump up to twice a week, but you make it a very verbal move. And then that's all that you talk about is that new schedule that you've created. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's good.
Bill and I were having this chat a couple of weeks ago, and I was, debating whether or not two shows is too many in terms of, people not being able to fully complete the first one before that, we've already put out another one. How do you feel about that, John? Do you find that 1 to 2 is sort of the right way to go, or is it sort of different for every show out there?
There's no right way because every show has a different type of audience. Like your audience is going to be a lot different than mine. My audience drives to work every single day. Like they're stuck in traffic. They're not happy with their job. They're looking for an EOFire episode every single day to get them through that commute. That's my perfect listener. So now let's flip this on its head for you guys. Now, either one of you can take this, but let me ask you, who's your avatar? Who is your one perfect listener? Describe that person to me.
Well, our avatar of our perfect listener is a 25 to 35-year-old fitness enthusiast because basically at the moment we're piggybacking off AdventureFit Travel's database and followers, really. We're obviously gaining our own followers and exposure there as well, but I would say that our fitness base is where most of our listeners are coming from. But still, with the when they're listening, how they're listening, these things, we don't really have the stats there. How would we go about really focusing and?
I'm not asking for stats though. I'm just asking who is your one perfect listener. Describe that person to me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
Tommy? Well, I would say 25 to probably 20 to 35 would be the
20 to 35.
The bulk.
Yep. Someone interested, probably at this stage in the CrossFit realm, weightlifting realm as well. You said fitness before, didn't you? I reckon we're probably a little bit more specific than that. And then someone who's a traveller. Fuck, he's put me on the spot here.
Yeah, but that's pretty much where we're at, John.
See, I mean, this tells me a lot right now. Like, this is one major struggle that you guys are having with your podcast right now. You don't even know who your perfect listener is. You can't even describe your perfect listener. So who the heck are you guys talking to when you're talking? You don't have a clue. You're giving a very vague... And you're failing. And you're giving a very vague age range of somebody that doesn't even really make a ton of sense. So let me, for your sake and for the listener's sake, share with you what an avatar should sound like. And by the way, like if I had given my avatar at episode 28, I don't even think I would have sounded as good as you guys just sounded right there. So there's nothing wrong with where you're at.
Cool.
It took me 4 years to evolve to where I'm at right now. So this isn't something that comes overnight, but it is something that you need to think about every single time you push the record button. So my avatar is Jimmy. He's 36 years old. He has a wife and 2 kids, ages 3 and 5. He drives to work every single day by himself. It's a 25-minute commute to work. He gets to work. He sits in a cubicle for 9 hours at a job that he hates. Then he gets into his car. He drives home. It's a 32-minute commute home because he gets stuck in about 5 minutes of traffic. Then he gets home. He plays with his kids. He hangs out with his wife, has dinner with his family, puts his kids to bed, and then he sits on the couch and wonders why he spends 90% of his waking hours doing things he doesn't enjoy doing. Commuting, sitting in an office, commuting, and only 10% of his waking hours doing what he loves, spending time with his kids, with his wife, with his family. That is Jimmy. He needs to be listening to EOFire every morning when he's driving to work and every evening when he's driving home. Like, that is my avatar. I could go on for like another 20 minutes about him. But the reality is you guys now know what an avatar sounds like. It doesn't sound like a 25 to 35-year-old person that likes fitness. I mean, that's like 90% of the 25 to 35-year-olds at least pretend to want that, to be in the fitness and travel and stuff. Oh. So that's not defining your avatar at all. You guys need to sit down and create one person and say, hey, what exactly does this person want to hear? So that you're not asking me how many times a week you should publish or what you should be talking about. You're asking your avatar who's actually listening to your podcast, because that's all that matters.
Okay, cool. Well, we did send a survey out, which we got 150 odd responses on the other day, which was good. So we had what type of guests people want to listen to, what questions they want to ask the guests, the ideal show.
Wasn't it tiring that everybody said John Lee Dumas? That wasn't
Oh, who is this? Who is this guy?
It's funny, even for the questions that weren't related to you, they still said John Lee Dumas.
Yeah, what's your favourite colour? John Lee Dumas.
I was just about to say that.
It's like a mauve-ish.
My virtual assistants, I just put them to work just answering that survey.
I think John Lee Dumas is just sort of halfway between aqua and a light tinge of green. I wasn't sure.
Well, that's great. That's a really good... So have you ever done anything like that to get data from your listeners, John? Or like, how did you actually sit down and did you create your avatar through asking your listeners, or how did you find your ideal market?
Surveys are a great way to do all of the above. When I first launched, I didn't have any listeners, so I couldn't ask anybody. So I just created the avatar off of who I thought I wanted my perfect listener to be. And it's totally okay, by the way. You don't have to create your avatar off of your current listeners. You might hate your current listeners, or they might not be your perfect avatar. So you shouldn't really care that much about what they say if they're not your avatar. So I sat down, I created who I wanted my podcast to be for. And then I just started working to create a podcast perfect for them. So who's a perfect, client for your business? Who is that one perfect person that you just want? Like when you picture this person sending you an email and saying, hey, I'm 29 years old. I work virtually, so I can take, weeks off at a time. Let me know what your next trip is, because I'm on it. Like that's like a perfect client for you guys. So like start crafting who that perfect client is so that you can start attracting that perfect client to your podcast by focusing on creating content for that person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. I think we'll move on because we've only got you for a short amount of time to get to school today, John. So let's talk about guests. So we've had some really good guests on so far. We've got a lot of guests that we've reached out to, and we've got a lot of really top tier guests that we just haven't really even approached yet because we're not that we're not ready. We would love to interview them right now, but we're waiting till we've got a bit more under our belt before we go to our big name guests. So quickly give us a brief rundown of your biggest name guest and the guest you are most proud of, and then how would we go about landing our number 1, number 2, number 3 ranked all-time guest?
Well, I've interviewed Tony Robbins, Barbara Corcoran, Gene Simmons of KISS, Brian Tracy, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, I've interviewed like all the top entrepreneurs in our space, and had a great time. Bill Kerr, the list just goes on and on and on.
Who's that?
But the reality is
first time I've been mentioned with Tony Robbins in the same sentence. That's for sure.
That's right.
Guys, you need, as entrepreneurs and as podcasters and just as content creators, you got to build your content, and you do it with a foundation. Like you don't go to the top right away because you're not going to have an audience. You're not going to have, you're not going to have a great ironed out interview where you're not interrupting each other all the time or talking over each other or the guests. And you're going to have this one great shot with these top guests. You need to make it worthwhile. So maybe, episode 50, you guys have really figured things out. Your audience is big. You got your interview tactics dialed in. Then you can reach out to that person and say, hey, listen, these are our numbers. These are guests that we've had on, John Lee Dumas, fill in the blank. And I'd love to have you on as well. And, this is, our demographic. This is our avatar. This is who you'll be speaking to. And so then when they are on, they feel like, number one, wow, that was a really well-run interview. Then number two, when the interview goes live, the audience actually reacts in a positive way and reaches out and tweets and does this and does that. That's super important, super valuable when you can deliver that type of value, because then they'll recommend you to their friends and their friends' friends. And it just starts this great chain reaction. But it starts with conducting a great interview, which frankly takes time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think myself and Tommy are very, very high energy guys. And we do get in the way of each other from time to time. We just get too excited.
We do.
We had some guests in very early days where we were just so chomping at the bit to ask them the next question that they pretty much didn't get a word in all day.
They didn't.
Let's be honest.
That was just us speaking and then just sort of sitting politely.
But yeah, well, that's great. I think we've been somewhat doing that and following that that path. There's a lot of guys that, like we said, we have on our list of guests that we want to chip away and get closer to and get guests in the same region. And then once we are really, really established, really confident at our product, then we kind of go and attack those guys and try and get them on the show, really. So, what about you got any questions, Tommy?
Well, I wanted to sort of ask how comfortable you initially felt with just doing the podcast. I know Bill and myself had sort of issues, me to a lesser extent, but I was definitely still there. Just with sort of, just being a bit worried and sort of just having concerns about how we'd sound on the show. Is that something you sort of just started to move out of gradually, or did you find that there were some certain tactics or techniques that you started to develop, maybe being more prepared or something that sort of helped you with that, John?
Yes, I was very scared, nervous, paralyzed with fear when I started. I mean, I had no experience. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had the imposter syndrome all around me. And the only piece of advice when it comes to this is you just have to keep doing it. I mean, that's just reality. Every single time you swing the bat, you're going to get a little bit better at swinging that bat. And that's just the reality. So, how many times can you guys do interviews? I mean, you guys should be doing interviews just with each other. I mean, you should be practicing, honing your skills, getting better, listening to people who you admire their interview skills of, learning. That's how you're going to improve the process. You don't get, better at playing the piano by going out and playing golf every day. You have to do that thing. And that thing for you guys is interviewing and is podcasting. So you're going to get better by doing just that.
Yeah. Yep.
So did you actually have any resources, John? Did you read any books about interviewing or listen to any great interviews themselves? I know Tim Ferriss had Cal Fussman?
Newport?
Cal Fussman, maybe, one of the world's great interviewers. It was one of his more recent shows, probably 3 or so months ago, with one of the world's great interviewers, and I can't quite remember his name. But, for example, I listened to that podcast. It actually gave me some really good tips and pointers on, how to get the best out of your guests. Do you have any resources, as in, books or, any other podcasts that you listen to to hone your skill, or is it just practice, like you say?
Yeah, there's some good work by somebody called Michael Port, who wrote a book called Steal the Show, and he's just one of the best public speakers. And so he has a great course, book, podcast on doing just that. So I like him. I also just like looking at other people who've been doing it for a long time, like Ira Glass, like Larry King Live, Conan O'Brien. These are people that are actually interviewing people all the time. You start to learn their tactics and how they interact with their guests. You can learn a lot from that stuff just by, again, watching other people and listening to other people who have been there and done that. And that's really critical. So those are some things that I definitely lean towards when it comes to resources. Michael Port, Steal the Show, and then again, looking at people who have just been doing it for a long time. I mean, even Howard Stern. I mean, he's been interviewing people for decades. That guy has a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yep. So you speak about your virtual assistants that you use. AdventureFit also has. I've got a personal VA, and then we've got a VA for the podcast. You use your VAs, obviously, I would imagine, would run the back end, put the shows together. Do you use your VAs to structure background on the guests on the shows or the general flow? Yours is all pretty tight, pretty streamlined. But do you use your VAs in that way as well to get information about the guests? And how do you make the most out of your VAs?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of ways to interview somebody. I actually decided to, and this is a long time ago, really day one, I decided that I was going to come at the interview from a place of ignorance purposefully. I wanted to put myself in the same situation, in the same shoes as my listener, who had likely never heard of this guest before. So I was really, really focused on just saying, hey, I want to know as little possible about my guest because I don't want to have the curse of knowledge. I don't just want to assume that my listener knows something about the guest just because I know it. So I don't do any research. I have the 50-word bio. So Bill, like when I had you on the show, 5 minutes before our interview started, I couldn't have even told you like a thing about you, whether you were an American, fill in the blank. I didn't know anything. But what did I do? I pulled up the commentary of interview that my VA had created, which had your 50-word bio. And I skimmed your 50-word bio just to make sure I could read it smoothly. And then I said, Bill, are you prepared to ignite? And then we were off to the races. And like, that's how I do my interviews. That's a personal choice, a personal decision. Number one, it's a lot less work. And number two, it just allows me to come from a place of just curiosity.
Actually,
now, I know other podcasters who spend a lot of time, energy, and resources to really do in-depth research of their guests. Now, I don't know any daily podcasts that do that for sure, but I know some weekly podcasts that do that have the time to do something like that. And they pull out some pretty awesome gems because of that. But that's just not my style.
All right, cool. Well, we don't have you that much longer on the show, John, so let's... we were going to talk about sponsors and monetizing our podcast, but I don't think we have time. Let's just talk about John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire. What's next for John Lee Dumas?
Well, hopefully going on an adventure trek with you guys pretty soon. Yeah,
Machu Picchu, he's on.
Oh, wow. I like it.
Yeah,
100%. No, definitely what's next for me is to just continue what's working. I mean, I'm not looking to scale and to leverage to the next level. I mean, we've been doing that for a while and we're at a great place. We have a business that's throwing off 7 figures of revenue a year. And I'm just not looking to sacrifice quality of life at this point going forward. So we're kind of looking to maintain the path. We have some great things that are out there, thefreedomjournal.com. If you're looking to accomplish your number one goal in 100 days, this is just a gorgeous leather-bound journal that will guide you in doing just that. Of course, we have Podcasters Paradise and I have some other projects that I'm working on, but health, fitness, nutrition, those are big focal points for me that get a lot of my time and energy. And will continue to be really important for me going forward. And of course, just running a business that's successful like EOFire, getting to talk to great people is key. And like you guys mentioned, monetization and stuff like that. And I will just say that is a pretty big topic for sure. But I do a free podcast workshop every other week and that you can find out more about at podcastersparadise.com. And I also have a free podcasting course at freepodcastcourse.com where you can learn a lot about podcasting in 15 days. And those are just some cool resources.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, my next point was anything you want to plug and where can they find you. But as the consummate professional that you are,
perfectly already done.
You beat me to it.
Beat ya.
Already done. Hey, Johnny, it's been absolutely awesome to talk to you, my friend. I actually honestly feel totally humbled right now. I feel like I'm just blown right now. In the professional sense that I mean that.
Put your pants back on.
Yeah,
all righty. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show, John. And we'll say see you later from cold, dreary Melbourne, Australia. Hope it's better for you over there in Puerto Rico. And we'll chat again soon.
Speak to you soon.
Catch you guys on the flip side.
Okay. So that was our little interview with John Lee Dumas. So to put it into perspective, John, like he said, his 7-figure salary. He makes bucket tons of money off podcasting, and he's built some amazing podcasts from all around the world. So Just a really passionate guy about it. But yeah, it was pretty crazy, wasn't it? How's how he started like yelling at us?
I know. I was like, oh, God. Hey, John, how you going? Really good, man. I'm like, this guy's sick. I love him.
I mean with the avatar thing.
Oh,
You didn't even know your avatar. I'm like,
yeah.
fuck, I'm sorry, man.
But it was good.
No, it was good.
I needed to hear it. You know, especially when he said, and you guys are failing in that. And he was so direct and so on point, but it was correct. It was true.
100%.
Who's your avatar now having a 2-minute think about it?
Well, my avatar basically, and I think it's similar for you, is me and you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's because basically we're trying to create the show that we want to listen to.
Yeah.
So we always talk about, for the listeners, we always talk about some of you guys that listen to other podcasts. Joe Rogan is a big one for us. Joe Rogan's my hero.
Yep.
Personal
100%.
hero.
Yep.
He's just the best. Just such a knowledgeable guy, but he's a lad at the same time, and a larrikin.
Such a good interviewer.
Such a great interviewer. And so for me, it was always Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, as in getting good name guests and getting some really good content out of him, and Fighter and the Kid.
Yep.
Yeah. Fighter and the Kid is a podcast, guys, if you haven't listened to it, which is Brian Callen, he's a stand-up comedian. He's Joe Rogan's best friend. And Brendan Schaub, who's an ex-UFC fighter, who have just put together a really, really good, perfect amount of banter and lightheartedness, but perfect amount of good
seriousness and
topical content.
Yep.
So that's where we're trying to fall, and basically, I'm just for myself trying to get us to where it's something that we would want to listen to.
I'm doing this from a purely selfish background. Like I want to learn as much as I can to get the guests that I want to get on the show and stuff. And I'm hoping that people that are similar to us are our avatars and the ones that listen to the show. If you're not, please still keep listening to the show. But
if you're not a 30-year-old and a 23-year-old guy
that's right.
with about a 5 mil stubble on your face, walking around at 87 kilos, if you're not that person, turn off the show.
Turn it off right now.
Get away from it.
Yeah, that's right.
But so no, it was good. It was good. I think we definitely need to. So much that we still need to do. You know, it's just there's only so many hours in the day, but we.
And I feel like a lot of that stuff he was talking about, we will gradually start to get. But did you? I keep saying the word humble. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. I felt like I didn't have answers to his questions.
Yeah,
but
I really felt like that.
Yeah, and I think it's always. I think when you interview someone or you're in the presence of someone who's doing what you're doing, but they've done it much better than you for a much longer period of time, you always feel that slight bit humble. And if you don't, you're not an idiot, but
you're a dickhead.
You should feel humbled,
yes.
You know, so yeah, it was great. But I mean, we could have spoken to John for another. He's a very busy man. So
10 years.
We could have spoken to him for 2 more hours. We would have gone into monetization. We would have gone into how to get sponsors, how to create a good following, building your database. There's so much that we could go into. Anyone that's looking to start a podcast, his podcast is Paradise.
It's good, eh?
Program is amazing. So yeah, there's so much we could have gone on about, but that's given us a good shot in the bum, I think. But
what was the biggest thing for you that stood out in what he said, apart from the avatar question?
Oh shit. I can't really remember what he said.
Do you feel humbled by me right now?
Yeah.
You looking up to me?
We went on to what did we talk about?
Do you know what I liked?
Oh, even the releasing of the shows.
That was good.
You know, so
that's so specific and so small, but it's got such a big impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Like so we're forever trying to get, and I'm really looking forward to in a couple of weeks when we'll have some shows in the bank. But we're always trying to get our show out at. So we record whenever we record, then we release Tuesdays and Thursdays, guys. If we do 2 shows, then it'll just be Tuesdays if it's 1 show. It's supposed to be 10 a.m. Melbourne time every day.
Yep.
Every Tuesday. But because we've got so much going on and we've been chasing our tail since the start, sometimes it's been late on a Tuesday. We've missed a couple of days, and it just hasn't been like clockwork. So I think
Dimitri Clockwork.
What's that?
I said, that's a poor joke. Dimitri Clockwork.
Yeah.
It's really
that is a terrible joke.
Sorry.
Oh, that was one of your worst.
I think it could be my worst.
Shit. But yeah, I think getting a proper structure there and just deciding whether we go with 1 or 2 shows is probably good, or having one show, Tuesday, 10 a.m. We know it's coming out, and then releasing the second show as, hey guys, bonus show. Letting them know it's a bonus show.
Yes.
So the guys don't think that,
They're missing
guys
out.
and girls are listening. Yeah, don't think that, the Thursday show didn't come out because we haven't really specified. We haven't really spoken about that. So that was interesting for me. I would have loved to have had him on for more time, but
what I really liked as well was the fact that number one, he just mentioned that you're not supposed to be butting in, and I feel like I'm always fucking butting in.
Yeah, we are.
But the other thing that he said was that he would like to go into he just would go into shows cold turkey, and he wouldn't know what the guests are about. And I actually really like that approach. I know sometimes it's not the most professional way to do it, but I'm behind this, and you are as well, so that we can learn just as much as the listeners can.
For sure.
And I feel like what he said about already having an idea of what they're going to talk about and having a subconscious opinion about the guest is detrimental to your learning. So I love the idea where, you and I both want Randall Carlson, Graham Hancock, all these guys to come on the show. And we just want to go, hey guys, welcome to the show, talk. Bang,
Yeah. I feel differently because I suppose for me as the host I feel like I have to build some sort of structure.
Yep.
Which I think, the other thing is, so have you listened to any of John's shows?
I've listened to one show. I can't remember what it was, though.
So that one show that you listen to, the other 1,350 shows are the exact same.
Yeah.
So he's got the benefit of he has, what are you excited about right now? What's your biggest entrepreneurial mistake? What was that aha moment where you thought, finally, I've come across something that's going to change my business forever?
Yep.
What was the lightning round? He has 25-minute interviews, and they're structured the exact same every time. So he sends the guests, myself, because I've been a guest, the flow of the show. So here's your 7 questions. Be ready for every one of these. So the fact that he's not prepared is a lot easier for him.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Because he's so structured, and he knows the guest is already ready with their
yes
thing. And there's not too much. If you, like for me, because I rant on and start telling stories, when I was on John's show, which for the listeners, if they want to listen to it, I think it's coming out June 25th. We'll put it in the show notes, but it hasn't actually come out yet because it was like 2 months ago, but he's got so many backed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I was on his show, I'd start to rant on and go down this path and that path, and he'll just cut me off.
Really?
No, in a professional way.
Okay.
Like he knew when I would pause for a breath, he'd be like, "Oh, that's a great story, Bill. Let's move on to the lightning round." Just because because he's got 25-minute shows, he knows that he wants to fit it in 30 minutes. He knows he wants to fit in this, and this question. So the fact that he doesn't prepare works well for him. I know we talked about preparing more last night, and that was just because of some feedback that I'd got.
Yeah.
As long as I'm well prepared.
Yeah.
Well, look,
I can feed off you.
Yeah, look, that's it. Because I feel, for myself, confidence-wise, I feel like I'd need.
If you just go into it absolutely not knowing the person's first name.
Yeah,
be a little bit of an
hey,
issue.
Who are you?
Yeah, that's
What are you doing here?
I'm your son.
Get out of my house, you weirdo. Yeah. Oh, you're a guest.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
I
do like to some degree though not knowing a whole lot about the guests. I think it's really cool. I like a structure of the show is really good. What we normally do. But I just like that idea of just being like, just talk to me about who you are. Initially at the start.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. Like, I think that, like I said, that'll work well for me. I wouldn't really like that because I'd just be maybe in the future I'd be able to do that, like in another 50 shows.
Yeah,
and with health and fitness guests, we can do that. Like, there's been a couple of guests we haven't been that prepared where it's like, hey,
without naming names,
let's talk about weightlifting, let's talk about CrossFit, let's talk about strength training or whatever, and we can kind of run with it.
That's our realm.
Yeah, we can run with it. But
yeah, exactly.
For our more
upcoming guests,
left of square guests, I want to be super prepared. So
big one's coming up. Stay tuned.
Who have you got in the what we've got coming up, Tommy? So we've got about 12 guests. We're going to wind it up soon, guys. We're going to finish our day at podcasting school, but we've got about 12 or 13 guests lined up in our calendar over the next month or two, and it's going to be really good. We got really starting to get some bigger and bigger names and some really exciting guys. Who is your number one guest you're looking for? Or give us a couple of guests in who we've got coming up the next couple of months, just to give the listeners an idea of who's coming. Who are you most excited about?
I've got three of the upcoming guests that I'm looking forward to most. Number one is Lucas Parker.
Yep.
So CrossFit Games athlete. Everyone knows him because he looks like a big red bear.
Looks like groundskeeper Willie.
Doesn't he? Doesn't he? And love the dude. I think he's really, really interesting in the way he goes about his... There's a documentary for everybody out there that CrossFit put up, I think, a couple of years back. It was A Day in the Life of Lucas Parker, from memory. And I was mentioning before about James Newbury's attention to detail. You guys watch that documentary and tell me what you think after that. He's just so efficient with his time. Absolutely loves what he does. Perfect technique. Just a really interesting guy. I reckon we're going to get a lot of information out of him. Also want to know how he grows that beard. Like that's, I mean, you said before we have
I think it's
really
called
shitty
puberty,
beards.
mate.
Yeah, that's right. Something that I've never actually gone through. So, love to know what sort of creams he uses on his chin. We've also got Miss Davidsdottir, Katrina Davidsdottir, coming up. That'll be interesting. I'd love to hear about her rise to stardom, being the fittest woman on earth currently, and some of the stuff that we may not know about her, because we obviously, with those games athletes, we only sort of see like one side to them. And then a really big guest that I'm interested in is Dr. Carmen Bulter. So she is the mind behind the Pyramid Code, which is a TV series on Netflix talking about some of the conspiracy theories and things we may not know behind the pyramids of Giza.
In 30 seconds, what are the biggest conspiracy theories? Because I haven't watched it yet.
So basically, despite popular belief, there's a lot of evidence supporting the fact that pyramids weren't actually tombs, and they're actually probably more closely related to power plants. So we've had electricity for, they're suggesting, over 5,000 years.
Power plants?
They were power plants, yep. And so the Nile was able to produce electricity, giving this thing off them. Pretty amazing
Giving this
stuff.
thing off them.
Giving the thing off them, yeah.
The scientific term is the Nile produced some water from the pyramids, giving this thing off them. You guys know it was giving the thing off them.
You guys know.
Electricity.
You guys know what the
electrical conductivity is from the thing off them.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So clearly I'm looking forward to having her on the show.
You need to have her on the show.
I need her on the show.
You need to fucking
just
know
talk to me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tons of stuff though. The technology, the thing. I'm seriously looking forward to that. That's going to be bloody interesting. Guys,
So
if you haven't... is she what?
She confirmed?
Yes, she's confirmed.
Sweet.
Yep.
Just getting a date.
Yep, just getting a date now.
I'm really looking forward to that one too.
That'll be good.
I think my most... the guest that I'm looking forward to most in who we've got literally locked in would be Robbie Whittaker.
Yeah.
Which is on the Sydney... That's going to be in a couple of weeks. So... Robbie Whittaker, for those of you guys who don't know, is a UFC fighter who's really up and coming in the middleweight division. I think he's probably ranked in the top 10 now, had some big wins. And I've seen him interviewed a few times as well. It just seems like a real down-to-earth guy. Doesn't even watch UFC fights. Just plays. He's a real big gamer, just real relaxed, real calm, cool kind of character.
Yeah.
But he's one of the most lethal dudes on the planet.
Yep.
I'm a big UFC fan, so that's a big one for me. Bas Rutten as well. Bas Rutten's a UFC ex-heavyweight champ, so I'll be good. It's going to be sick. I'll be interviewing Bas when I'm over in the US with my brother. So Jack's going to step in and just help us out over there while I'm over in the States. So Bas Rutten is going to be a really good one for me. And the other one that I'm most looking forward to is probably Rusty Young. So those of you guys who have read Marching Powder, Rusty Young is the author of Marching Powder. Marching Powder is one of my favourite books, probably in my top 5. Just when I went to South America 5 years ago, the idea started probably six and a half years ago when I read Marching Powder. I read that book and I wanted to travel, and I was planning this big trip. I didn't know where to. I read Marching Powder and I thought, I've got to get over to South America. It's strange because the book's about a guy getting trapped in a Bolivian prison, which is a coke processing plant. Yeah. So I don't know what my plans were subconsciously.
Well, you certainly gave the coke a crack.
Yeah, couldn't get myself into the prison.
No.
Fuck, I murdered so many people, but just couldn't get it across the line. But it showed that Latin America, especially Bolivia, like so many of the systems are just so backwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not a positive thing, but I like being out of my comfort zone. I like seeing just really, really different cultures, and that's what did it for me. And Rusty seems like a really good bloke, so we got him in Sydney in about a week's time. So that's going to be good. And then I've got another one that you're going to miss out on, Tommy, because I'm in the States. I don't really want to mention it because I know you're going to be really, really upset that you're not going to be there. But that's the SETI guy.
Oh, yeah.
So SETI's the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And, I'm going to just be going and find some aliens.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just going to go and cry.
So, I don't know. I reckon that's about it. Good day at podcast school.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the future. Oh, we need to mention Mac.
We didn't. Yes, we did.
No,
We did not.
We did not.
Macca, poor bastard.
So just so all the listeners know, if you've hung on this long and you've listened to the show, thanks. But so Mac is no longer co-host of AdventureFit Radio. Unfortunately, so Mac's a gym owner. He's a property investor. He's doing renovations on his properties that he's got.
He's got a lot on, doesn't he?
He's got just a ton on.
Yeah.
He's also an AdventureFit Travel staff member, and he will continue to be an AdventureFit Travel staff member. It got to the point where Mac just didn't have enough time to really put in on the back end. So we do a lot of work on the back end of this show, more than I thought was going to be there.
Same.
And Mac just couldn't get the time to do that. So it was either he kind of had to make a decision, AdventureFit Travel or AdventureFit Radio. I think he just couldn't realistically do both.
Yep.
And unfortunately, he's had to step away from AdventureFit Radio. Having said that, he's still going to come on from time to time as guest host, and or just come in and sit in and
as a friend
and catch
as
up.
A mate. Yep.
But yeah, he just couldn't maintain the workload that's behind the podcast. So, in case you guys are wondering why he's absent from time to time and all what was going on behind the scenes, that's what's going on. Everyone left in absolutely perfect. Everyone left in good spirits.
Yep,
like I said, he'll be back on the show. He's a great friend of ours. He's a bloody legend. So sad, but it's just unfortunately how it is with what Mac's got going on in his life. So
absolutely. And if you are listening, Mac, we still love you, mate. But we still love you.
All right.
Excellent.
Anything you want to add?
I reckon it was all pretty good. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's good.
Taking to school?
It's good.
Have you been schooled?
I like getting schooled.
So do I.
Thanks to John Lee Dumas. Alrighty, well, that's a wrap from us, guys. See you next time.
Alrighty, gang. Thank you for listening to that. Jesus, what a bloody good guest John Lee Dumas was, hey?
Yeah, it was good.
Loved it.
If you guys enjoyed the show, us going to podcast school, then please subscribe. As we talked about in the show, subscribers are what get us our downloads, which helps us grow the show, which helps us get better guests, which helps us entertain you guys even more so. So that's the idea. Get behind, share the show, subscribe on iTunes is the big one. And we'll be happy days. Also, the podcast show notes will be found. So will be found at www.adventurefittravel.com/podcast. So anything that we mentioned in the show, any resources, anything about John Lee Dumas, it'll all be in there. And also, as always, thanks to our sponsors, Audible, www.audibletrial.com/ADVF Radio. Go get your free audiobook and 30-day trial. And AdventureFit Travel, www.adventurefittravel.com. Check out the coolest trips in the world. And
boom.
That's
Speak
it.
to you soon.
Oh, no, we keep cutting each other off.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
So, yeah.
We keep finishing each other's.
Bye.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.